So these are our driver predictions for the upcoming silly season. So we're going to go through all the drivers that have their contracts up at the end of the season. And we're going to we have different opinions on where some drivers are going to go. And we're going to go through those opinions.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Sounds very reasonable. So I think that Carlos Sainz will be going to Red Bull. That's what I think he's going to be doing.
I think that he will be, in a very controversial way, staying at Ferrari for the 2025 season.
I can't see it though. I'm sorry, Ben. I can't see it happening. I cannot see Carlos them going, oh no, it's okay, 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. We're going to do a U-turn on you, and we're gonna go and get Carlos Sainz back. Can you really see that happening?
Solicitors and lawyers are very good at changing things in contracts. Personally, I think if Lewis carries on in the vein of form that he is at the moment, I just can't see why you would swap a driver lineup that is as good as Sainz and Leclerc for Leclerc and Hamilton.
So hypothetically saying, what you're saying is it could get down to the wire, Hamilton still going to Ferrari, then they do a U-turn, then Toto could have Lewis's seat covered at that point. He could have someone there, and then Lewis could be out of a seat. He could literally have been caught in between.
I think probably looking at the drivers' market, most things get sewn up by the end of the summer. To me, if Lewis is still not performing to that level, I would be looking and going, are we really getting the best driver lineup? The best bang for our buck,
I agree.
like.
I agree, yeah.
In 2025, with Hamilton. Yes, we know PR-wise, fantastic. He's going to sell a lot of things, etc.
Bring the bag in, mate.
It's all about the money. But from a purely competitive perspective, in my opinion, he's not there at the moment.
But what about Red Bull? I mean, I think Carlos is going to be going to Red Bull. I think Red Bull is probably the best option, the most likely option. I know yours is obviously, I know you think it, but in realistic, let's come back to the real world for a second. You know, Christian has been very praising of Carlos, so he could be taking Perez's seat. But then the only thing that kind of makes me think is it would have a lot of animosity at the team, because Carlos will not be a Perez and will be a lot closer to Max.
The dynamic in that team will shift dramatically overnight. Can I see Sainz? Sainz has always been sort of that driver. At McLaren, you sort of knew it was in many ways Norris's team for the taking.
Well, he was a youngster, wasn't he? He was the moving forward, wasn't he?
With Ferrari, he's come into Leclerc's team.
Yep.
And can I see him moving to Red Bull, where it's clearly Verstappen's team, if Verstappen obviously stays? I'm not too sure about that. I just don't think... I think now he needs to make his own place on the grid, his own team. And that, if he moves to Red Bull with Verstappen...
It's not going to be it.
Nah.
Two-time world champion Fernando Alonso has also got his contract up at the end of the season. Again, a lot of speculation for him going to lots of different teams. Also, as well, there's also a chance he will retire. I think that he's going to be... I think he will be going to Mercedes. That's where I think he will be going.
Interesting.
Do you think?
I think he will stay at Aston Martin, primarily because... There's lots of talk about Aston Martin potentially not being Aston Martin.
Yep.
I don't know when from, but Aramco are interested in buying the team out.
If that happens,
yeah,
bye-bye Stroll.
Well, I would probably say that that's a given.
Yeah, he will be gone.
It's a good team to build around a big star like Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, I agree, and you know they're not in a bad position, Aston Martin.
No.
You know, last season they had a very good season.
I think they're in fact in a very good position.
They are in fact in a very good position, but I just think that Hamilton leaving Mercedes, big name leaving, go to Ferrari. Well, yeah, Going to Ferrari. But
Maybe.
they want to leave. They want as big a name to go and take that seat. I mean, Fernando's got another year or two left in him. I think he's not going to go for much longer than that. So if they're going to kind of have a driver that's going to be there for a couple of years while they stable the team and they find out what their next long-term project will be, Fernando is a very good option.
Yep, he brings obviously a wealth of experience, 2 world championships to it. I think he very often drives the car well above the ability that actually the car has.
Yep.
Which I always find surprising that he's only won the championship twice.
Mm-hmm.
I also agree partly with you that there's got to be another crack at the whip for another world title somewhere.
Yeah, he has to go to a team that's going to give him a chance. I don't think Fernando has any more
Points to prove?
Yeah, no points to prove. He's got nothing. Why would he go to a team that's lower of the grid? He'll only change teams if that team can offer him a chance to win another title, and that's that for Fernando.
100%
He doesn't care otherwise. So yeah, Mercedes are the best option. Again, Red Bull, but I don't think that dynamic would work. But I think Mercedes is definitely the best option.
Apparently it's been on the cards a few times, this
Yes.
Alonso to Red Bull over the course of the years. Does it happen this time round?
To add a bit more Fernando spice to the already big shitstorm that's Red Bull.
Yeah.
That'd be quite funny.
I think Alonso's probably best placed staying where he is.
Sergio Perez, the Mexican maestro, some would even say, who we both think he's going to be seatless.
Obviously still early days, but he's done a good job in Bahrain and Saudi.
Not Australia.
Australia wasn't a great race for Red Bull, full stop.
No, but he didn't pick up the pieces of the unfortunate DNF for Max. And that has been his problem last season and this season, which he doesn't pick up the pieces and doesn't consistently get on. Well, he didn't last season, wasn't consistently on the podium, let alone trying to consistently keep up with Max.
And as we were discussing before we started filming, when we were discussing Bottas at Mercedes, Bottas would regularly pick up either a win or a solid podium for the team so that they could carry on with points. Whereas Perez, I always think if Max has a bad day, Perez invariably has a bad day as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, if Max stays in that team, they need to just get themselves another solid number 2 driver.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, I just can't see that team being built around Perez.
No, I can't see it either. I think he's done now. I think after Red Bull, I don't think any other team that's really going to pick him up. The only thing that could be if it's a team that's a bit further down the grid, a bit like what Bottas did after Mercedes, and they use his experience to benefit the team.
Possibly.
But then what motivation does he have? He's been at the top. He can't win the championship. He doesn't very often win races in those cars. So what motivation would he have now to go down the grid? He might do, but I don't see him getting anywhere.
No.
So the all-French lineup in the all-French Alpine car, Ocon and Gasly, we think they're going to be staying, as I think the French, the French lineup, French team.
I would be surprised if it changed. Although saying that, the management changes it seems every weekend at the moment. So one manager might not particularly like the driver lineup, but I mean, the car is not in a fantastic state, so
It's a really state, isn't it? It's absolutely awful.
I would say they need that experience to push them through to the midfield.
If they're lucky. I mean, is that Alpine's management's changed more than I've had hot dinners over the last year. Honestly, it just
true,
you can never keep up. I think up until last week I still thought Otmar Zafnauer was in charge because it went so quick. I'm joking, I didn't think that. But it's just so quick that you can't keep up with it. And if you can't keep up with your management and your top, your people around you, then how are you ever going to push on? But that's a whole different story. We think that they're going to stay, and we don't really know where they're going to go from there, but we don't see them going anywhere else.
I think the midfield is their best option for this year, isn't it? And they can push on that 100 race winning strategy that they had. Looks very, very old hat now.
So Williams, they've got one of their drivers who's going, who we all love, not, Logan Sargeant. Not because of him as a person, he's just not a great driver. But he's going to be going.
I would be surprised if he stayed another season. Let's put it out there. I'd be surprised if he maybe gets towards the end of this season. I believe that Antonelli, if he can perform, and it's obviously very early days in F2 as it is in F1, I think that they'd be silly not to.
They would be. They would. I agree. Antonelli, you know, Mercedes do sort of rule the roost over Williams a little bit, especially with the whole James Vowles, Toto Wolff sort of connection there is now, especially so. They've kind of made Williams their junior team almost, isn't it? It's not official like Toro Rosso. Oh, sorry, Toro Rosso. No, it's not Toro Rosso, is it? It's RB.
Everyone knows it's Toro Rosso.
Bloody ceiling roof.
They're a feeder team for the Mercedes.
Effectively become that, haven't they? And Antonelli has been fantastic up until F2, and we're still waiting to see what he can do in F2. If he does, Mercedes want him to get the experience in F1, and we think that Logan will be making way for him.
I thought the feature race for Antonelli in Australia wasn't too bad. Hopefully that's something he can build on. But there is also a wealth of talent in F2.
Huge amount of talent.
And with so many drivers out of contract as well, you're sort of starting to think maybe this grid will look very different.
Yeah, and we will probably in a couple of months' time have a video looking at this video and going, we were so very wrong.
Yeah, there's so much talent out there that you just can't predict it.
It's such a tight season in F2. It's been a winner of a different winner every race. It's been a bit of a madness going on over in F2, which is a complete contrast to F1.
Yeah, it's been refreshing.
Australia. And so we think Antonelli will be taking that seat.
It would be exceptionally good to see him in F1.
So RB, the Cash App one, not the Red Bull Racing one. They got both their contracts for both their drivers are finished at the end of the season. Danny Rick and Tsunoda. So we said, I said that Danny Rick would be going at the end of this. Well, actually, I think it'd be quicker than that, but he will probably not last in that team. And Yuki, I think he'll be retaining his seat.
I'm in agreement. I think with Yuki Tsunoda, he's doing all the right things at the moment, and he's making Danny Rick look bang average. I find the driver lineup at the moment with that RB team interesting because Danny Rick is not a junior driver, and Tsunoda's becoming that as he's becoming a more of a veteran driver. And I'm sort of thinking with Red Bull's talent pool that they have, and
which is a vast pool of talent, big pool,
and getting bigger every year. Then I would argue Liam Lawson, did very well last year.
He did.
I think he's the most obvious replacement, really. But again, there's Dennis Hauger.
And that's just one pool out of all the pools there are. There is so much talent coming through that this whole giving a driver a second chance is going to become almost non-existent, I think, soon. I think, obviously, Albon had his second chance at Williams, and now Danny Rick has his second chance back here. I think this will be a thing of the past. With all this talent, young talent coming through, I do not think this will be happening.
Something has to give in that.
It does.
I look at that F2 grid and just think, wow.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
The racing is better than it ever has been for me. It would be a great shame to lose so much talent.
So last but not least, well, sometimes last, Haas. We have Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen is ready to be kicked out or stay, Ben.
Both due for their expiration of contract for 2025. What do we think? Looked at this before we started shooting, that we were sort of saying that one driver would stay and one driver would potentially make way for a Behrman or another F2 driver.
I can't see any other driver taking it just because he's had that experience now and he's shown what he can do. It's a safer bet because he's going to perform well.
Still has to have a good season in F2, Behrman.
Oh, of course.
Still has to.
Which he is currently, even in a Prema car that is pretty bang average. So
surprising for a Prema car.
It is very surprising. But yeah, we think. But I think that Hülkenberg will stay and KMag will go, and I think that Behrman will replace Magnussen there. And because I think Hülkenberg has proven, especially this season, he's a better driver than KMag, and especially the qualifying.
He has come back ever since KMag came back after the whole debacle with Schumacher and Mazepin. And KMag, he's almost part of the furniture now.
And he's become Haas.
I can just see Haas getting rid of him and sort of going, we've made another mistake. We need to bring him back.
We want him back. We're getting withdrawals of KMag. Please come back.
And to me, that's a 50-50 with Hulkenberg and...
Make your pick. Go. Pick. Which one's going?
I would keep Hulkenberg.
Okay, good. So we're both on the same page. Hulkenberg stay. Hulk, you're staying, mate. For now. Stake Sauber F1 team, which soon to be Audi, has Guan Yu Zhou and Bottas, of course. Mm-hmm. Both had a contract at the end of the season.
They are.
What do you think, Ben? Do you think they are staying, or do you think they are making way for young talent?
I would say Zhou is staying. He gives Sauber, I'm going to call them Sauber because I'm a traditionalist on that front. He gives Sauber number 1 image and number 2 money for their season, which for them going forward is still a big thing. Mm-hmm. I also see Bottas as staying as well because he brings a wealth of experience up and down the grid.
He does.
But I would sort of say after that, it's anyone's game.
It is anyone's game. I can't see both of them really staying. But like you said, Audi's coming in. Do they want to rattle the nest at the moment when they've got such a big change coming up in 2026? Audi obviously said Audi coming in, Sauber going. Do they want to rattle the cage now, or do they want to keep the same drivers and then change it all in 2026? But then at the same time, if you then got another or a new driver in now, or 2 new drivers in now, when it comes to 2026, you then potentially, they already have a year. It's almost a year, kind of like Haas's 2021 year. It was just a write-off year. So they just write that year off.
Definitely was.
Yeah, massive spin. Do they write it off and get 2 new drivers in, get the experience, then move forward, or are they going to keep them?
I think the thing is with Audi, and this is, for me, where we'll see the interesting driver market swap, is it's going to be a constructors team. Mm-hmm. So does that attract a big name like Carlos Sainz?
Yep.
Or do they sort of start off more in a Red Bull way, have a solid number 2 driver acting as their number 1? So for Red Bull, that would have been DC, and that would be Bottas and Audi, in my opinion. It's interesting because they're a big, massive name in sport and car manufacturing.
Massive.
But I don't know. I can't see them attracting a big name.
Not yet. Not until they've proved themselves a little bit for a couple of years. But no, I think if they're going to keep one of them, they'll keep Bottas over Guan Yu Zhou. Just because of the experience he has, and Zhou hasn't exactly lit the field alight, has he? So we'll see. We'll see. But I think Bottas will retain that seat, and then Audi will just kind of go with that and see what happens. So that's our predictions for silly season coming up very soon. Won't be long now, will it, till it all starts kicking off and people move in and finding out what's happening. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to make, hopefully, a dull season a little bit more brighter.
I hope so. I'm hoping that the Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari was not the final exciting part of the driver market change. I'm hoping it's the first chapter. And we've still got Max Verstappen's up in the air a little bit as well. So that will be, if that happens, something happens there, that'll be pretty good. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you did get all this way through, possibly subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. Let us know what you think about silly season and what you think, which driver will go where. Bye.